This Dodge dealership didn't even go through the effort of fully closing all the hoods. All have over a $10,000 discount. The fact that this has been sitting here for 3 months really emphasizes the point that GMC kind of missed the mark on who they're marketing this to. EV owners don't want Hummers. Hummer owners don't want EVs. It's really that simple. But even after over $6,000 of discount, they're still asking over $80,000 for a Toyota Tundra with leather seats. Welcome back to another episode of What the Heck is Happening in the Car Market. It's now September of 2024, and in today's video, I'm going to visit a variety of dealerships in a town somewhat local to me to show you guys what inventory, pricing, and transparency is looking like and how much it has changed in the last couple months because, spoiler alert, there's actually a lot that is different. And today we want to figure out if it's becoming more of a buyer's market, if things are becoming discounted greater and the outrageous markups and MSRPs are finally going away. Or what are we going to find today? Stay tuned to find out. And if you guys like anything that you see or learn today, please consider liking my video. That small act of kindness really lets me know that you want to watch more stuff like this, and it'll help you by having YouTube choose to show you more stuff like this. Thank you. This is the 4th generation Tacoma Limited, and it's $54,000, and then it has around $1,300 of basically add-ons right there. But even the MSRP is $54,000 for a mid-size 4-cylinder Toyota truck. That is just absurd in my opinion. I used to own Tacomas, I've had a couple of these, but I just don't understand how they are $54,000 and why the most expensive ones are the only ones here, and that's 7% interest for 7 years. I'm sure you're gonna be paying at least $65,000 for this if you don't pay for it up front or have a big down payment. That's just insane. Here, this one is loaded out, has some modifications, and it still has the $1,300 of add-ons. But it's a $48,000 truck, TRD Sport. So even the TRD Sports are not very cheap, are they? This Tacoma looks like the same two-wheel drive, 20-year-old, 4-door 1st generation that was here just over a month ago when I was here last. It was $11,000 or $12,000 before. It looks like they're still asking over $12,000, so that might have even come up in price just a little bit. It's kind of a cool, well-kept example, but $12,000 for a truck that was probably less than double that when that was brand new 20 years ago. It is insane how well Tacomas keep their value, but I do feel like that might be just a little bit overvalued. So while there are a few used Tacomas, it is just absurd to me that basically all the new ones that they have on the lot, MSRP at over $50,000 before the add-ons. Who is buying that, especially where this is only a TRD off-road? That's not even a Pro, because $55,000 used to be a loaded out TRD Pro from even a year ago, and this isn't even the top trim level. That's pretty sad. Or there's an iForce Max Tundra, which we know these have had a lot of reliability issues, and I just drove one of these for a full review. I haven't posted those videos yet, but they'll come out soon. But even after a $4,400 discount, it's still over $80,000 for this Toyota Tundra. So even compared to a month ago, this dealer lot just does not have a lot of inventory. All the trucks that they do have are really well spaced out to the point that you could almost squeeze in another vehicle in between them. And then they're missing an entire row. Plus, even with them spread out, some of the rows are not even finished, like here and right over here. But there are quite a few Tundras. I just think a lot of people are having trust issues with those right now, since Toyota issued 100,000 units to have an engine replacement. So it's kind of hard to want to buy a used 22 or 2023, and then the 2024s, even with $6,000 of discount, they're just not selling very well right now. And I think used vehicles are holding their value really well too, because new vehicles are just so expensive. But even a 5-year-old, very low trim level Nissan Sentra is still about $14,000. When brand new 5 years ago, when you actually had a powertrain warranty on this, that probably was still under a $20,000 car. And yet again, you can still find 1-year-old, one owner examples. So at first I was thinking, this is the iForce Max Hybrid. So this probably wasn't recalled. This might be a good one from the different manufacturing process on the engines of this. But then you look at the window sticker, and it says it has 3 miles on it. So again, I'm wondering if for $73,000, if this is another kind of sketchy dealer tactic of where they're pretending like the vehicle is sold maybe to a salesman or to someone else and then bought back, so now they can kind of have their own Monroney sticker, their own fabricated sticker for the pricing, and it's not actually used. Even if it is like a certified pre-owned, they still up the price tag on it to justify the warranty, and I'm sure there's a kickback to the dealership for that. But I just would like to know what's going on with these 1-year-old examples that have no miles on them. And while it's unfortunate that interest rates are higher on used vehicles, you still can find quite a few used vehicles. There's a whole lineup of them here for you guys to choose from. It's just unfortunate that A lot of these are out of warranty either because of their age or their mileage, or obviously just being very old, like the PT Cruiser GT over here. But you're going to be paying a lot more money than you would have even just a few years ago for a used vehicle, let alone what the interest rates are going to add up to be over the next couple of years. I've driven and reviewed a few RAV4s, and even just a few days ago I posted a Corolla, the current 12th generation. And if you do buy a naturally aspirated Toyota, they are pretty reliable. They are still very good vehicles to drive. But most of what you find on dealer lots, they're not sedans, they're not little compact vehicles. They're big vehicles, they're big SUVs. Let's see what this Platinum Sequoia is going to cost you. So window sticker is an even $80,000. You're still going to have $1,300 of the extra crap added on. So now it's an $83,000 SUV. So if you need a 3-row family hauler, you're probably going to have to shop elsewhere if you're the average American. This 2024 TRD Pro brand new Foreigner, it's now just under $60,000. Before a couple months ago, they were asking about $63,000 for this, if I remember correctly. MSRP though, it's only $56,000, and this invoices for around $51,000. So the dealer would already be making about $5,000 off of you if you buy MSRP, but they're still trying to get an extra $3,000 off of you. Thankfully, that is a lower markup than it used to be, but I don't think anyone is still paying markup on the Toyota Foreigner. These are just way too common vehicles for them to be worth, anything above really invoice at this point. I'm now at a Ford dealership, mostly to show you what the truck inventory and the crossovers look like. But notice all these Broncos. It's literally like they're multiplying. This one, if you guys have seen a few of my past videos, it's literally been here for several months now. It still has about a $5,000 discount over what MSRP was. And now they have a second one, literally the same color. I don't understand why, if the first one doesn't sell, why would you then add another one to the mix? And with that silly Raptor graphic, I mean, if these were 60 grand, I think that would be a steal, but for $90,000 and then tack on another 7-8 grand for all the tax you're going to be paying, the dealer fees, the doc fee, all that stuff, I just don't think these are worth about $100,000 for a Bronco that most people aren't even going to take off-road. And then most of the F-150s you're going to find, they're just going to be the full-size 4-door short bed trucks, basically the opposite of a work truck. And although I think these look really good, and you have the very prominent horizontal orange bar, this is a 2024 year because there was a slight refresh for this, and I have a review of one from a few months ago on my channel. They are good trucks. There's a lot of things that Ford has done well with these, but this one, MSRP is for $63,000. It is a 2024. It has the 3.5-liter EcoBoost, but no spray and bed liner, and even at about $63,000, cloth seats. You don't even get leather or fancy seats, which again, a truck doesn't really need stuff like that unless it is just your creature comfort vehicle. But $63,000 for a truck that's not really set up for work is kind of sad. And then these are all Bronco Sports, which are kind of nicknamed the Baby Bronco. They're basically a unibody off of the same platform as the Ford Escape and what the Maverick is built off of. And I think this dealership did a really good job in ordering not fully loaded out spec ones. So this one is only $31,000. There is some extras, some overpriced door edge guards, which you can't really pull those off without it damaging the paint. So I don't think that they should force you to buy that. And you can see the window sticker and the add-on right there on this one. But most of these are $31,000 to $33,000. Let's see what this one is with kind of the Bronco logoed steely wheels. Yeah, I guess it's not that much cheaper with even those wheels, but 33 grand. I do think that that's a pretty fair value in today's market for something like this. And then this is the redesigned 5th generation Ford Ranger. I've also reviewed one of these, and they are pretty cool trucks. This is the Lariat, which would be pretty similar to what the limited Tacoma you guys saw earlier for $55,000. So let's see what the sticker is on this. 49, almost 50. It even has a spray and bed liner. Oh, but there is, of course, the add-ons. So you are going to be paying about an extra $900 right there, and you're definitely paying for everything that you get. But at least it's about $5,000 cheaper than the Tacoma equivalent. This one actually looks pretty nice. It's a lower trim level STX. It doesn't have a spray and bed liner, but it still has about the same size bed as what the Tacomas are offered in. And it MSRPs for 38, so I'm sure invoice is maybe closer to 34, 35. So you could probably negotiate a few $1,000s off, especially where this dealership has quite a few of these Ford Rangers. But that feels like a better deal than the Tacoma, especially where the Tacomas have been having 8-speed transmission failures. And I honestly think that the Ford midsize truck these days might actually be as reliable or more reliable than the Tacoma, and that's something that I never thought I would say. This one, for example, though, you can actually see it is advertised for several $1,000s off. So there's definitely negotiation, there's definitely wiggle room. You don't have to be paying $55,000 for a midsize truck when ultimately this is still a four-door, same size bed as the Tacoma, but it's $20,000 less for missing out on a few of the creature comforts. One thing that I also really like about the Rangers is even when you don't go Raptor Ranger, you still have functional aero to cool down the brakes and to get better aerodynamics for MPG. And you even have a wide fender on the front and the rear, which is pretty cool. It's not super predominant, but it's still enough to be noticed. And these are the Ford Escapes, which, like I mentioned, is basically the same underbody platform as the Bronco Sport. And you can see a lot of these do have almost a $5,000 discount for 2024 model years. Some of them even have $6,000 off. So you can get a pretty decent deal. It's just probably not going to be on a truck because unibody vehicles, while being safer in crash tests in general, they're also a lot cheaper to produce. And then here are the Ford Mavericks. There aren't as many as there were over a month ago, but there's still quite a few. Unfortunately, though, a lot of these are Lariats, XLTs, Lariat, Tremor. There's basically just the higher end one. So let's check out this white one, which doesn't actually look that impressive from the exterior. It does have brown leather interior, if you guys can see that. But what's the MSRP going to be? $36,000. I feel like that's asking quite a lot. If you guys haven't checked him out, check out the Car Care Nut. He has a really good mechanics review video of the Maverick and just shows a lot of the shortcomings that it has. So at $25,000, I think it's worth it. At 36 to 40, I don't think these are worth it just for a slightly fancier interior. So I'm just pretty disappointed that none of these are the $20,000 40 mile per gallon hybrid front wheel drive Maverick examples that were promised to us a couple years ago, and these are coming out, and why they made such a big splash when they were first announced. I'd rather get basically a Ford Ranger for $36,000 than a unibody Ford Maverick for $36,000. And if 2024 model year vehicles can have over a $10,000 discount, why is it so expensive to begin with if the dealership and the manufacturer knows that they're making well over that? Plus, they're staying in business by selling it to you at that price. So why does it have to be so inflated on the window sticker? I mean, prices are always going to get more expensive on everything. That's just how the world works. So $50,000 for a truck, I could understand that if this had Toyota or Honda reliability from 20 years ago and everything was true automatics and naturally aspirated engines. But the V8s, they have cam failure issues or cam phaser failure issues. The EcoBoosts, we know turbos go out on those. Even the twin turbo Tundra, it's having all the engine failures that it's had. The Tacomas are having 8-speed transmission issues. The Chevys and the Sierras are having lifter failures from their active fuel management cylinder deactivation system. Dodge doesn't even sell V8s anymore, and their Hurricane engines are showing to not be any more reliable or any better in the real world for MPG and power than a Hemi V8. So I just don't understand why the expense when the quality is not there. And then heavy duty trucks, which really should only be driven by people who actually work for a living, they're astronomically expensive. This looks to be one of the less impressive ones. It's probably just the V8 because it's not advertised as a diesel, and it's still $60,000. And this one has the Godzilla 7.3 liter engine, but still 60 grand for a cloth seat, no bed liner work truck. That's just a little bit too much for someone who probably is going to be using this for work and probably doesn't even make $60,000 in a year. That just doesn't make sense or add up to me. Or this high output Power Stroke with a long bed. So it is a Lariat, which is a high trim level, but it does look like a chromed out, nice, luxurious work truck potentially with the long bed. And let's see what this one goes for. Over $90,000. So that's just a lot of money for a high output diesel these days. I'm at a GMC dealership now, and I actually have something really interesting to show you guys. But first, I want to see how much this 6.2 liter Ecotec V8 is, the Sierra. So the high trim level, it's a Denali, so it's about as high as it gets. But $70,000, or after all the options, $80,000, if you guys can see that right there, for a half-ton truck is just absurd. That's halfway in between the Super Duty, the gas, and the diesel that you saw at the Ford dealership. So if we come around and we look, even here, this is an AT4, these go for 80-something thousand dollars. But if we come over here and we look at this Hummer, if you guys have seen a few of my other videos, a few months ago, this was here. It was $140,000. It makes about 1,000 horsepower, 16 inches of ground clearance in extraction mode like it is right now. But still, it's been sitting here for several months. The battery's just degrading. And I think GM kind of missed the mark on this. People who like EVs don't like oversized, overpriced heavy-duty trucks. People who like to make a statement and drive a big heavy-duty overpriced truck that they're not going to use off-road, they probably don't want an EV. So I'm not really sure who this is selling to because they only sold a couple thousand units of these last year. But I just want you guys to know that a few months later, and this is still here as well. But also this dealership is much more empty than it ever has been in the past. Even the used cars, they're not having as many as I've seen before, so maybe they're not getting as many trade-ins or buying as many as auction. There are a few muscle cars, a Hellcat over here, but I just don't see even that many new GMCs. Look at how much empty space there is on the lot. Even if I reach around over to here, it's just all open pavement parking lot. Maybe they could repurpose this for something else if they're just not getting the sales numbers that are going to keep them in business. I guess that's why they're not coming down on price, and that's why they're trying to have few but very expensive full-size vehicles over here. A few months ago when I was here at this Dodge dealership, this parking lot was full of heavy-duty trucks, Jeep Wranglers, and other Jeep SUVs. Right now it's completely empty. So now this is the inventory that they have. Basically just a bunch of Grand Wagoneers, regular Wagoneers, Grand Cherokees, Grand Cherokee Longs. So what I'm trying to say is there's a lot of very expensive vehicles, at least on this side of the parking lot, but not very many things that the average person can afford or probably even wants. But they still have a lot of the plug-in hybrid Wranglers, which MSRP on a lot of these are around $60,000. A few months ago, I could find a bunch of these that had $15,000 marked off on the windshield. So you could buy one of these for a quarter of the value off, or about $45,000. And quite a few of you guys mentioned in comments below that you bought one of these, unfortunately at full price. So after about a year, it was now worth about half that price point because they could be discounted so much. So if a new one was then 45, a used one would be in the low 30s. But I think Jeep also missed the mark. This is kind of like the Hummer EV in that people who are hardcore off-roaders, I don't think they want to carry around a battery pack and have to worry about that. But maybe I'm wrong. All I know is I don't see very many of these heavily modified. Most of them I just see at the mall, Starbucks parking lots. All right, guys, I finally found some less expensive vehicles. Most of them are on the used market. A few of the old Chargers and Challengers, a few Durangos, and then we're gonna see some of the heavy-duty trucks reach around the whole backside of this parking lot. I find it kind of funny that this Dodge dealership didn't even go through the effort of fully closing all the hoods. All of these are completely open, maybe to make it easier when they open up in just a little bit. But I don't understand why they couldn't even go through the effort of closing the hoods last time they were around this area. But this is a Cummins, it's a 2500 Dodge diesel, but it's only a tradesman. So it's basically a really low trim level, and it still is a $71,000 vehicle. Sorry about the camera clarity, but $71,000 for an actual work truck with a diesel engine. That's pretty rich. Most of these other trucks are in the 70s to the mid upper $80,000 ballpark. And for whatever reason, there are just no half tons, which right now the half tons that they're producing are the 2025s with the inline 6-cylinder turbo 3-liter engine. But these are all heavy-duty trucks. I guess we're finally getting to a few regular Rams. But let's see how much this black Limited is. Limited is a fairly high trim level. This one must be used because there's no Monroney sticker on it. But there is one on this next one. So notice you do have the Ram cargo boxes, which make the bed nearly useless with how much less space you have. These are parked super close together. And MSRP $70,000 for this 3-liter turbo Dodge Ram. Anyways, guys, I just think it's pretty disappointing that vehicles these days are so overvalued, especially where they're kind of under-reliable compared to even vehicles 5 years ago. It seemed like with all the cylinder deactivation, active fuel management, start-stop technology, we are seeing quite a few reliability problems starting to take place. As some of those systems, which are more dynamic, meaning the more moving parts, the less reliability you're gonna have, and they're starting to fail. So it is disappointing that all these vehicles at most of these mainstream car lots are so expensive. And it's not like I'm choosing to not show you guys the cheaper stuff. It's just that these automakers aren't making cheaper stuff, or if they are, they're not being funneled to the dealerships, at least the ones I've been to. So it's just kind of depressing, it's kind of sad, and hopefully the car market will improve. There have been a few improvements in the last few months, but as you can see, even from last time, there's way less inventory than there was before. So if you guys know the reason to why that might be, please comment and let me know in the comments below what you guys are finding local to you. Personally, I think there are still a lot of good values, a lot of good deals out there, But if you don't need a body-on-frame SUV or truck, maybe consider one of the other Japanese automakers like Subaru, like Mazda, maybe like Nissan if it's not one of their CVT vehicles. But consider the competition, because just what I showed you today, the manufacturers that make mostly trucks and SUVs, those are the ones you're going to be paying more for. But there are a lot of other good manufacturers out there. So with that said, I wish you guys the best. I hope you take care. Comment below what you want to see in the next video. I'll do that probably next month. And with that said, take care, guys. See ya.